So folks, it seems like we finally have a release date for Cataclysm Classic, confirmed to be coming on May 20th, which seems fairly sudden, and a shade earlier than my very pessimistic take of late July or early August. Bit of cake on my face there, but I had such take due to ongoing issues with the beta, and the fact we hadn't really had any hints at all from the Classic WoW team about Cata's release date. But fear not, it seems pre-patch will be going live this month on April 30th, and then again, Cata's full release dropping on 20th of May, and a further roadmap for the patches and content to be released throughout Cata's tenure was provided to us as well. So essentially, we got a host of information dumped on us out of the sky about the plans for Cataclysm throughout the next year, which seems to be a very short year at that, and one likely preparing us to go into Mists of Pandaria in 2025. What on earth is going on? And although I think this is mostly positive news, rightly so there were some concerns about such a soon release date, due to said ongoing issues with beta, a lack of communication for what's happening with Cata's release to the existing Wrath Classic players or returning Cataclysm players. So let's dive into the specifics of what's to come for Cataclysm, the roadmap for future content, as well as some concerns currently being felt by a somewhat apprehensive player base in the face of getting hyped for Cata's now soon release. But just before we jump in, as always, feel free to like and subscribe if you're new here, as it helps me out a bunch. So thanks very much indeed. Now, let's get on with it. So once again, we will get the full release of Cataclysm Classic on the 20th of May. So sketch that one into your diaries, alongside the pre-patch on the 30th of April, which we'll note later. And on this release date of 20th of May, we get all the new shiny changes that Cataclysm brings, such as the 3 main raids for Tier 11, being Bastion of Twilight, Blackwing Descent, and Throne of the Four Winds, alongside side raid Barradin Hold in Tol Barad, with Tol Barad essentially being the new Winter Grasp for Cataclysm and Barradin Hold being the new Vault of Archivon, as well as further system changes such as flexible raiding, world flying in Azeroth, changes to guild systems, and overall class changes. And it seems Cataclysm is going to be released at an absolute rapid rate, with the first new dungeons of Old Turn raids in Zul'Gurub and Zul'Aman coming in July 2024. Rage of the Firelands, bringing Firelands as the new raid, is coming in October 2024, giving us about 4 months of our initial Tier 11 raids. And finally ending Cataclysm with Hour of Twilight, that sees 3 new dungeons as well as the final raid Dragon Soul in January 2025. So I mean, yeah, they're basically firing Cataclysm out of the hole. And I think it's interesting once again, we've gone from essentially no information at all to then having the whole expansion planned out with specific dates, which is actually a nice, fair change. But last, we have not just a release date for Cataclysm, but the whole expansion's roadmap, which seems like we'll barely be spending a year in the expansion. And previously noted, probably means that it's safe to assume that Mists of Pandaria is surely on the way also, likely being released next year. So get ready to rewatch all of Kung Fu Panda again pretty soon. Now, prior to full release, we do get the pre-patch changes for Cataclysm coming April 30th. That sees some minor pre-patch events, but also sees the availability of Worgens and Goblins as factions, allowing you to level whichever you prefer to 80 in prep for Cataclysm leveling, similar to what we'd seen for Death Knights being available at the end of Burning Crusade prior to Wrath's release. However, with the pre-patch coming April 30th, it does mean that we only get 20 days to prepare, not even 3 weeks. So it's going to be a fairly snappy pre-patch at that. And at first glance does appear to be skipping over some of the original things that we saw in the original Cataclysm pre-patch back in 2010. But this will certainly suit various players for various reasons. I.e., if you're returning for Cataclysm, you might be sad to miss out on some of the pre-patch content or its length. But if you're an existing Wrath player heading into Cataclysm Classic, you're probably sick of Icecrown Citadel by now, and PvPers, the season has ended, and it's likely that everyone just wants to now get into Cata. So a pre-patch that's short isn't really that much of a big deal to you. So despite not being the full length, I think realistically a short pre-patch is probably okay, but again, it entirely depends on what you want from it. Now that's all the details out of the way, let's dive into a bit of speculation. And hey, maybe it's just the pessimistic streak in me once again, but being honest, I really wanted to get hyped for the release of Cata Classic, and I've been really getting into the idea of trying it out again despite not enjoying its original release, making videos and reminiscing about how great raiding was. And overall, I think it's great we now know when we're heading into the expansion for sure, as we can cease any uneasiness brewing in the player base. But something about this whole announcement just feels slightly, I don't know, a bit off. I think it's strange we've gone from complete radio silence to now knowing we'll be in Cata in essentially a month. This isn't a new surprise album that are dropping to try and build up hype. We knew we'd already be heading into into Cataclysm. We probably just wanted a rough date a while ago. So again, being told, hey, Cata starts next month is kind of just a bit baffling to me, especially given there's a clear roadmap for all of the content. How does it then still feel so rushed and unprepared somehow? And speaking of rushing, is this timeline going to be enough for Cataclysm players who really want to enjoy the expansion again? Personally, for me, I think the rate of content coming out and Cata lasting only about a year is the smart decision for the Classic WoW team. And it's likely come from the ambiguity of the situation. Unlike Burning Crusade and Wrath, which were easy wins for Classic WoW and have a lot of favour, Cataclysm is a divisive expansion even now. And Blizzard are probably a bit unsure of how the player base will take to it, or even what kind of player retention the expansion will get. So making sure content is released faster and people are kept busy is probably a good move, albeit probably upsetting some players also. Yet I still think the overall announcement for the general timeline is a good win for Classic WoW, as it means we can plan a bit more accordingly for knowing how long we get each patch of Cata, and I'm a fan of the fact we get this information. So a date of 20th of May does work for me as well, I suppose. And now, I guess it's time to get hyped. Generally though, I'd guess a lot of effort has gone into Phase 3 and 4 for Season of Discovery. The Classic WoW team now has a bit more resources to pump into Cata Classic, which hopefully means we'll get a smooth release, excellent launch, and an expansion that won't be full of bugs. Yeah. But in all seriousness, I think generally this is fairly good news to assume, I think. Wrath has been struggling in terms of people even wanting to play since Cata's announcement, and now there's barely even a server above median population on EU servers. But now we know that we'll be seeing Daddy Deathwing revamp the world once again, class changes, new factions, as well as guild changes in the next month or so. I guess it's time to prep for what's to come and get hyped. So do let me know what you think of this announcement in the comments. Does it fill you with excitement and hope? Or are you a bit apprehensive too about this very sudden release date? Be sure to let me know. As always, feel free to like and subscribe if you're new here. And on that note, I think I'll say ta-ra for now, and I'll see you later.